Hi, I'm Whitney Espich, the CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I hope you enjoy this digital production created for alumni and friends like you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of MIT Tech Reunions. I'm Whitney Espich, CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I'm delighted to welcome you to Technology Day. Tech Day is an important and popular moment in our reunions each year, as it offers a chance for alumni of all years and all schools to gather together and drink from the MIT fire hose once again. While this year's Tech Day is held online only, that only means that we are able to widen the tent to welcome those alumni who are marking reunion class milestones in 2021, plus every other MIT graduate from around the globe. So, from wherever you are logging in, welcome. I know that you're going to enjoy learning from the experts sharing their insights today on what tomorrow could look like with our Tech Day theme of Pathways to the Future. To kick off our first session, focused on the future of online learning, is CJ Whalen. CJ is a Course 6 and Course 15 alumnus from the classes of 92 and 93, as well as a former president and current member of the MIT Alumni Association Board of Directors. He is also a member of the MIT Corporation. Take it away, CJ.
Thank you, Whitney. I'm excited to be here introducing the panelists for our first Tech Day session, Pathways to the Future of Open Learning. Many of you alumni who are celebrating your 20th reunion probably remember that 2001 was also the year that the Institute launched its landmark initiative, OpenCourseWare, or OCW as it is known. In today's session, we'll hear about OCW's plans for the future, as well as how MIT is envisioning online learning's role in 2021 and beyond. Our speakers today are Krishna Rajagopal, MIT's Dean for Digital Learning, and Kurt Newton, Director of OCW. First, a little bit about Krishna. As Digital Learning Dean, he leads efforts to empower and catalyze MIT's faculty as they use digital technologies to augment and transform how they teach students at MIT via MITx, MicroMasters, and OCW. The goal? To share the best of MIT knowledge and perspectives with learners around the globe. He is also the William A. M. Burden Professor of Physics. Krishna joined the MIT faculty in 1997 with degrees from Queen's University and Princeton after stints at Harvard and Caltech. He serves on the U.S. Nuclear Science Advisory Committee and is a regular visitor at CERN and Brookhaven National Laboratory. At MIT, he previously served as the associate head of the Department of Physics, where he stewarded the department's undergraduate and graduate educational programs and helped launch its early MITx activities that improved the on-campus teaching of freshman physics and junior lab, as well as its first MOOC on quantum mechanics and quantum field theory. He is a former chair of the MIT faculty and a Margaret McVicker Faculty Fellow. He has won the Everett Moore Baker Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching and the Buckner Prize for Excellence in Teaching in 1999. We will hear from Krishna shortly via pre-recorded remarks before turning it over to Kurt Newton. As director of OCW, Kurt leads a team of 17 dedicated staff in sustaining and enhancing this foundational open educational resources, or OER, program, supporting millions of learners and educators every year with freely shared materials from over 2,500 MIT courses. Prior to becoming director, he served as OCW's site curator and a publication manager. He joined OCW in 2004, shortly after its launch, captivated by the promise of open education after a 15-year stint in optical and data networking systems and engineering and product marketing. He also holds degrees from Iowa State and Stanford in electrical engineering. He's also a steady contributor to MIT's climate change activities, especially at the intersection of open education and climate justice, including helping launch an online community and podcast with the MIT Climate X, advising on MIT's online climate primer, and leading workshops with the En-ROADS Climate Simulator produced by the Nonprofit Climate Initiative and the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative. Today, he is here to talk with us about what pathways will OCW take next. Following Kurt's remarks will be a Q&A moderated by Kim Leslie Hunter, a Course 10 alumna from the class of 1986 and the Alumni Association's Director of Alumni Outreach. But first, a few words from Krishna. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Krishna Rajagopal, MIT's Dean for Digital Learning. Welcome, everyone, to this Tech Reunions talk. Let me start by apologizing for not joining you live, as was the original plan. Today, this morning, at exactly the same time as this talk, my son is graduating from high school. His school had to delay the celebration of their graduation by 2 weeks, and in doing that, they bumped right smack into this Tech Reunions talk. So my apologies. Today, each of you is celebrating an anniversary since your graduation. Here, we're celebrating an anniversary also, because we're celebrating MIT OpenCourseware's 20th birthday and looking ahead to its next 20 years, to the potential and plans for OpenCourseWare, and for the ecosystem of open educational resources that OCW sits within. The mission of OCW at its founding in 2001 and today was and is to unlock knowledge and empower minds by publishing materials from virtually all MIT courses, and to extend the reach of those materials via the OER movement, which OCW played a key role in seeding. MIT President Charles Vest, who launched OCW 20 years ago, spoke about how surprising and audacious the vision of OCW that came to him from the faculty was. He had charged a faculty committee chaired by Professor Dick Yu with coming up with bold ideas for how MIT could use the then new World Wide Web for education. But give away all our educational materials for free? One way to see how wise and right those founding faculty members were and how right Chuck was to jump all over the idea and make it all happen was to say that was to look ahead to today and to say that today sharing our pedagogy and our perspectives through OCW is simply unquestioned at MIT. It's just what we do. It's a part of what we do. It's part of who we are. So those founders made exactly the right decisions because what we do now feels completely natural at this point in 2021. So let's take a bit of a look at OCW today. OCW today includes materials from 2,500 MIT courses taught by 1,700 MIT instructors. To give you a sense for these numbers, at any given time, MIT has a little more than 1,000 faculty, and I spoke of 1,700 instructors over 20 years. And each year, MIT teaches about 2,000 courses, and we now have materials from 2,500 courses over 20 years shared openly online with anyone around the world. OCW is the largest .edu YouTube channel in the world, anywhere. We have over 3 million subscribers on YouTube, and about 2 billion minutes of learning have occurred from those OCW videos on YouTube. To get a sense of how staggering this is, let's just remember that OCW was launched well before YouTube. The founders whom I mentioned previously were not even thinking about video when they started OCW, and now look at where we are with the YouTube channel that I just described. What about the OCW website? We have had 210 million unique visitors to the OCW website, well over 1 billion minutes of learning on the site, and untold billions of minutes more learning as people who come to the site use the materials that they get there, share the materials that they get there, learn from the materials that they get there, and teach their own students using the materials that they get from OCW. And finally, via the magic of OER, as the materials from OCW morph and are shaped and are reshaped and are reused and are repurposed and ripple outwards through the OER world. For all of this, we and millions around the world are incredibly grateful to so many. First of all, we're grateful to that founding generation. I already mentioned President Vest and Professor Yu. Steve Lerman, who was then the chair of the faculty, also played a key role, as did the members of that faculty committee, including Hal Abelson and Shigeru Miyagawa, both of whom are on the OpenCourseWare Faculty Advisory Committee to this day and have played a role in stewarding OCW throughout its 20 years. We're also incredibly grateful to those 1,700 MIT faculty and instructors who have shared their insights and their perspectives and the artifacts of their teaching in MIT's classrooms with those millions of people all around the world. And we're incredibly grateful to thousands and thousands of supporters, including in particular so many MIT alumni who have supported OpenCourseWare. We're particularly grateful to several key foundations and corporate supporters, but also to major individual supporters led by MIT alumni. So without you, none of this would have been possible. Let me also thank the devoted OpenCourseWare team of 17 people, led by OCW Director Kurt Newton, whom you're going to be meeting in just a few minutes. Without them, the magic of OpenCourseWare wouldn't happen. Their work realizes MIT's sustained and ongoing institutional commitment to OpenCourseWare, this wonderful incarnation of MIT's mission and values. So let me actually quote from the mission statement of MIT. MIT is committed to working with others to bring knowledge to bear on the world's great challenges. The access to knowledge that OCW offers to everyone around the world is a magnificent realization of MIT's mission. So let's now start looking ahead to the future. As we look to the future, the evolving place of OCW in the OER landscape, OER in fact being the embodiment of working with others, we see a path from the access that OCW has achieved today to greater equity. This path goes through collaboration with educators and OER institutions who bring knowledge to people in widely varying contexts and with widely varying preparation, whom those educators and those institutions know well and know how to teach. Bringing OCW materials to people with widely varying starting points is a big part of our vision for the future. To take OCW into its third decade, to that end, and to build even greater access, and to keep it vibrant and current, we are right now building a next generation OCW platform and developing a next gen OCW program. In a few minutes, Kurt is going to show you the alpha version of the new OCW site. We aim to launch this new platform late this year. For my part, let me briefly mention a few key drivers of what we're doing for the future right now. First, as I already mentioned, we want OCW to remain a vibrant and current reflection of what we teach at MIT and how we teach at MIT as both evolve. We want it to stay vibrant and current for years into the future as the MIT curriculum evolves and as we face up to the challenges of today and tomorrow, from sustainability to social justice to the future of computing and more. As the MIT curriculum evolves, OCW must stay vibrant and current. That means we need a platform that will allow us to create and update many hundreds of OCW sites every year. And this is one of the big drivers in our design of the new platform. Second of all, as of today, in vast areas of the world, access to knowledge means mobile access. So learning on the new OCW platform has to be mobile friendly, and that's another driver of what we're doing. Furthermore, given the vast range of materials now available on OCW, we need new and modern search tools to help everyone navigate the ocean of knowledge that is OCW. We need new search tools to help everyone make those serendipitous discoveries that are one of the joys of being on OCW, and to discover what it is that they're looking for, whether that's for the purpose of satisfying a curiosity, or advancing their education, or advancing their career, or helping to teach their students, or maybe in fact, all of the above. Next, to help those educators whom I was just referring to bring OCW to their students, we need to build on what we've already been doing in helping MIT instructors talk to educators around the world, offering what we call instructor insights. Here's how we use these materials at MIT, and so here's how you can use them elsewhere in your teaching. We need to build on the momentum that we've developed with the Chalk Radio podcast, which has a similar purpose. And we need to offer educators elsewhere ways to integrate OpenCourseWare into their learning management system. This is another part of our plan for the future. And last, but perhaps most important, as I already mentioned, to build from access towards equity, we need collaborations with others, building learning pathways together, us and the others with whom we'll be collaborating, building learning pathways that will bring the students whose context and preparation and starting points they know so well, to bring those students to the point that they can set sail on the OCW ocean. I hope I've given you a sense of the OCW of today and tomorrow. Kurt Newton is going to be joining you in a few minutes to give you a look at the future of OCW, and he'll be sharing your first look at the alpha version of the new site, as I mentioned. But first, let me repeat my thanks to all of you, my apologies for not being able to join you live. And next, we're going to share with you a video celebration of OCW at 20.
In creating OCW, MIT launched a quiet but profound educational revolution. It unleashed the global open sharing movement and helped pave the way for the worldwide phenomenon of open digital learning.
What are 2 or 3 words to describe OpenCourseWare's impact? I would say knowledge at scale.
Eye-opening.
Enlightening.
Choose your own adventure.
A whole new world.
Wow, 20 years of MIT's OpenCourseWare. That's just amazing to think about.
We've had more than 200 million people come to OCW and learn from the materials that MIT is sharing.
My initial introduction to OpenCourseWare was actually at Bunker Hill Community College. My linear algebra professor would give us these weekly quizzes. We told her it was hard, and she said, actually, this is an MIT quiz. And I was kind of blown away that I did some part of it. And when I inquired how she got the quiz, she said, oh, there's this thing called MIT OpenCourseWare. It imparted me with this confidence of, oh, I can do this. I can survive in an MIT course. And that drove me to say, maybe I can thrive at MIT.
OCW was the pioneer. It opened everybody's eyes to the possibility of connecting to learners who are in, different countries and different situations, different ages.
We are making the MIT OCW available in universities and community libraries which do not have internet connection.
It has encouraged me to learn, to find out about things, to understand, and to apply.
There is so much that can be achieved by just giving people complete, wide open access to this knowledge that they can use whenever, wherever, as much as they need, as little as they need.
It takes, this very kind of privileged and elite education that we make accessible to our students and opens it up to a broader public.
The very existence of MIT's OpenCourseWare is inspiring. It's a shining example for institutions of higher education around the world.
I think there's also great value in showing the range of disciplines that are taught at MIT and showing the fact that the humanities and social sciences are as much a strength of what MIT has to offer as the STEM disciplines. This course that I created is now part of the record and is now something that someone else can build on.
Everything is there, even the syllabus, even the instructions of the teachers, quizzes, assignments.
OCW is perhaps one of the best things that has happened to education worldwide.
It's like being so unselfish. You're giving everything of what you have and sharing it with the other people, especially in developing countries like the Philippines.
OpenCourseWare quite literally changed my life. It gave me the education I needed when there wasn't another place to find it.
You're giving people the tools that will allow them to achieve their potential.
We have real problems in the world that need to be solved, and we need problem solvers from every area of the planet to work on these.
We've created this powerful foundation of free access to knowledge, and together we'll keep growing it. We're creating better ways for learners and teachers to find and to use that OCW content, and we'll keep sharing that vibrant reflection of the teaching and creativity from MIT.
As we think about equity, we think about collaborators so that we can bring more people starting from different starting points, coming in different ways, to the point that they can learn from OCW.
Together, we're forging new paths where everyone's contributing to the world's growing knowledge. And we're all using and sharing that knowledge every day to solve the world's great challenges.
I want OCW to attract people. So it's not just a neutral, if you want it, come get it. I want OCW to be calling on people to educate themselves, to empower themselves, to build and to have the necessary tools to do what they think is important.
And I'm hoping that over time, this snowball from 20 years ago becomes an avalanche of intellectual exchange amongst humanity.
Hello, you've just heard the case for OCW's global impact, the many reasons that we celebrate 20 years, and a bit about why we're so excited for our next 20. The opportunities before us are so important, so exciting. I am indeed Kurt Newton, Director of OCW, and today I'm going to bring you in on how we're thinking about these exciting opportunities and give you a sneak peek at our next generation OCW platform. As MIT alumni, you understand how incredible the MIT education is. You're witness to its impact out in the world. You've been there doing amazing things, finding creative solutions to myriad challenges, building communities and companies, and imagining and realizing the future. Your front row seat to what a gift to the world OCW has been in freely sharing the materials of the MIT education. You get it. I think you're here today at this session because you know the value of lifelong learning, keeping up and staying engaged. You're rightly proud of what we've accomplished and you've accomplished, and excited by how much more there is to do. At OCW, we feel the very same way, proud of our first 20 years and charged up to realize that we're just getting started. So today, along with that sneak peek of the next gen OCW platform, I'm going to bring you in a little closer and enlist your help to help us achieve our biggest aspirations for open knowledge, for inclusive education, for just and equitable progress on our biggest challenges. I'm going to try to share my screen for a few slides, and then we'll jump over to that next gen platform. Got it? So we're going to talk just very briefly and reinforce a few of the points that you've heard from the video and Krishna to get us started. I'm going to talk about the website, the materials that are on OCW, and that access to knowledge, and how that's a springboard for what we're about to do next. You know, you heard some statistics fly by in those opening remarks. I want to reinforce a couple of points. You know, the global reach of OCW is truly astounding. You know, more than 2/3 of the visitors are coming from outside North America, and from a diverse user base that's about 50% independent learners, whether people who are just curious or people who are trying to continue their education throughout their lives, complemented by another 50% roughly that are enrolled students and educators. So this hunger for knowledge, you know, has really been borne out by what we've done with OCW and what we see every month, which is, you know, 2 million visits to our website every month and 4 million independent YouTube views. You've heard a bit from some of the users of OCW in those videos. I just wanted to touch on a couple others from the incredible feedback we get from people. We're coming through a period of tremendous disruption over the past year, right? With the pandemic. This is not the first disruption, and it won't be the last. And OCW is there for all of these learners. We heard from Tuba in Pakistan a number of years ago how she used OCW to continue her studies even when, due to unrest in her country, she didn't feel safe getting out of the house and going to attend her classes. We kept her going, you know, creating a basis for resilient learning through that disruption. On the other hand, people like Trent Parker have used OCW to really reconstruct their lives. Trent was looking for something different to do. He had a little bit of computer science knowledge, and over the course of about 6 months, using materials he found on OCW and some of our colleague programs, was able to learn so much and demonstrate his skills that he was able to get a job as a software engineer at Google. So he truly empowered himself through these unlocked learning opportunities that you can find through OCW. When we think about users, of course, we also have to, you know, we're so grateful for what you as MIT alumni have been doing with OCW. We know that you've been checking in on your favorite courses, going deep into topics maybe back that you didn't have time to study when you were here, but you want to learn about now, keeping up with new knowledge in your field and beyond, and sharing what we've got on OCW with your family, with your friends, with your network. And we're so grateful for that and want to continue that relationship with you. So I want to ask today, what do you wish for from OCW? We want to hear from you. I believe there's an opportunity to drop some thoughts and some questions in a chat function. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's today or any time in the future. So in terms of where we're going, we're going to talk over the next 20 minutes or so about what's happening from the website, what's happening with our presentation of MIT courses, and what's happening to build on that access to knowledge that Krishna talked about so eloquently. I'm going to start with the website. Many people conceive of OCW as this website of materials, and that's true, but it's so much more. When we think about getting the content to where the people are, way beyond the website, it's really interesting and exciting as we think about the future. YouTube is just one of the examples here. You know, we started on YouTube about 10 years ago, and in some ways, in some measures, we're reaching more people through YouTube than we are even through the website. Here's one of our latest publications just a few days ago, Laboratory Chemistry, taught by John Dolan, with some super engaging presentations and examples. We're looking forward to getting that one out in the world through YouTube, and where people are coming to learn, I know, from a video format. This is where we're reaching them. No question, another place that people are and where we need to get our content to is on their phones. People are mobile, and for many people around the world, that smartphone, that mobile phone, is their only digital device. We're going to come back and do a little demo of this, but very much in our minds about moving beyond the current conception of the website. Getting people to be able to access material, use this material mobile is really, really important. Next point on where we're going, the MIT courses. You've heard this phrase, the vibrant reflection of the teaching and learning at MIT. We're not just getting started with this. We've been moving in this direction for quite a while, and I want to just cite a few of these other examples to set the stage for what we're trying to build upon. We've had this program called OCW Educator, which complements the what is taught at MIT in those course materials with how we teach at MIT. We're interviewing faculty about their inspirations, why they teach the way they do, their approach to pedagogy, what's working well right now, and what they'd like to do next with their teaching, to bring in other educators, those very high impact multipliers on the use of OER, and to engage in a conversation with them. Sometimes those interviews are shared in a print form or video form, and over the last couple of years, our new podcast called Chalk Radio has been another fantastic way to get that how we teach message out there. Another form of the vibrant teaching and learning beyond the courses that you can register for at MIT, which you all know and love. There are so many other things that together create the rich MIT education. And we're increasingly investing our time in getting those out in the world too. And so whether it's outreach programs to bring in, for instance, young women into the STEM fields, programs to go out into the community and engage people about climate change, or those deep conversations that you get into, for instance, during the IAP period of January, non-credit, but life-changing experiences, such as this recent publication we did about mass incarceration. Those are all flowing through OCW as well, complementing the core courses that you know. Lastly, the way that we teach, the tools that we're using are continuing to evolve. And so as the teaching at MIT becomes more online, hybrid, digital, those materials are being reflected on OCW as well. We are using, for instance, the MITx interactive assessment platform in many classes at MIT, and we're sharing those materials, through the OCW program, currently on a sort of a parallel site called Open Learning Library, which you can find online. You can have the experience of, submitting your answers to some of those assessments and checking your work as you go through it. So we're just keeping up with the evolving artifacts of the teaching at MIT. Last point about where we're going, building on that access to knowledge towards equity and through collaboration is just fundamental to the work that we see ahead for us. I'm gonna do just a bit of a detour, go back to the beginning a little bit to set the scene here. The second part, as Krishna mentioned, I think, of OCW's founding mission was this launching of the open education resources movement. And I want to make sure people have an appreciation for what that has become, how rich that is. Beyond providing free and open access to course materials, which is foundational, a very important part of the open education resources movement is that there is licensed legal permission for people to do a number of things beyond just have access. We call these the 5 R's. You can retain that material. It's not bounded by, somebody saying you can only access it between this set of dates. It's yours to carry with you. You can reuse that material. You can revise it. You can remix it with other things freely. You have the rights to do so. And you can redistribute whatever derivative works you've made of that material to other people in your network. And those things together, enabled through our friends at the Creative Commons, who share a 20th birthday with us of 2001, are foundational to this open education resources movement. And so we have this incredibly rich, diverse community now that's emerged with us over the last 20 years to work with. Too many to mention here, but from the individual practitioner through the institutions and organizations and backers and funders, it's all making this possible, this environment that OCW continues to evolve and thrive within. And I want to show you just a couple examples of what these collaborations thus far look like as an indication for where we're going. Finding open education resources, because it's being produced by so many people, can be a challenge. And so there are a couple of folks who've really gone specifically at searching, discovering OER across all the providers of it. Merlot is one of those. And Merlot is used extensively, for instance, in the HBCUs in the US, the historically Black colleges and universities. So there are human curators who are monitoring all the publications of OER out there and pulling that in, kind of curating these collections. So when you search in Merlot for artificial intelligence, boom, right there, Patrick Henry Winston's version on OCW, which is one of our most popular courses, is featured right in there. That OER discovery is a really important, starting point for some of these collaborations. Another form of collaboration enabled by the Creative Commons license is adaptation into other forms. So for instance, the lecture notes, which are on OCW for Physics 1, 801, which are produced in a beautiful laid out PDF document, have been modified into a more nimble web format by our friends at LibreText. And in this web format, it's easier for a number of professors who want to teach with this material to grab bits and pieces of it, remix it, put it into their learning management system. So not to say you can't do it with the PDF, but having people that are really plugged into the specific learning context environments that educators are working in, such as LibreText, allows us to multiply our impact. And we're so grateful for what LibreText and others like it are doing with our material. And we want to make sure that we are staying close to them. All right, we're getting so close to that next gen OCW preview. We're going to talk about next gen, starting today and in the future in terms of both the next gen platform and the next gen program. What we're going to show today is the starting point, that alpha preview of that next gen platform. And if Zoom screen share will allow me, you should now be seeing live in the flesh the next gen OCW preview platform. Sometimes we call it an alpha, sometimes we call it beta -2, if you're familiar with that sort of jargon. So on this preview version of the OCW site, we've migrated all of our existing content into a new format that, for instance, works well on mobile phones. And I can't show that very easily on Zoom, but you can see how the template adapts. It's responsive to the narrow window that people have on their phones. And that is really going to expand the reach and the impact of OCW content. Krishna has mentioned that we have better search tools. And for instance, if we search for courses on climate change, you can see that we've got 238 courses, that are about the topic of climate change. And you can winnow that down based on topics. You can winnow that down based on the types of material that you're looking for. Maybe you're looking specifically for problem sets, and you can focus it down like that. Or by department, you can focus it down. For instance, what is the electrical engineering? What's course 6 doing in climate change these days? Here's a brand new climate change seminar published just recently on the current platform and also migrated over here, which works with the topic of climate change from a kind of computer science lens. You can see here about the course. The things that you all know and love from OCW are here on the new platform. We've got context. If Google is linking you, for instance, to this page, you can see about the course info right here, and you can hide it if you don't care to see it. And the full rich content that we're used to seeing on OCW is all here. Student projects, is complementing in so many of our courses the materials that the faculty are providing. So it's all here, and we invite you to check this out. Stay tuned, and I'll give you. We'll put in out in the chat for you a link where you can sign up to get access and preview this this site. Now let me go back to my slides. And hopefully you're seeing the slides. Somebody speak up if you're not. So I want to close with a few reflections on where we're going to build on that preview website, the migration of existing content. To continue getting content more widely out to where the people are, we're investing in bridging the digital divide. We have this mirror site program, which puts all OCW content on a hard drive and ships it out to places in the world where people don't have good internet bandwidth. We're extending that work and also moving beyond. We're in conversations with some very interesting organizations that, for instance, are doing peer-to-peer wireless networking out in villages, in particular in the global South, for instance. Very interesting there. Learning management system integrations to get the content into the teaching context for students and teachers around the world, and creating new routes of discovery, building on, for instance, what you saw there with the Merlot search engine, help people to not only find those courses, but also even more granular individual modules and pathways. We want to be sharing that through OCW. Another pathway, another route for these future explorations around the vibrant reflection of teaching and learning at MIT. Krishna mentioned our new platform is going to be accelerating our ability to publish materials more rapidly, to keep up with the evolution of the MIT curriculum. So as new topics are coming online, for instance, there's a lot of work going on right now about not only machine learning and artificial intelligence, but also the ethics about how to think about that and how it ripples across all disciplines. We look forward to bringing that to you. Student contributions are an area where we've worked on a sort of an informal basis for many years, and we're in some really interesting conversations right now with MIT students to formalize that and weave that in a more thorough way across many more OCW courses. That the OCW voice needs to include students because what they are bringing to their learning is so powerful. Lastly, we've been doing some experiments this year during COVID. They've been really successful. We plan to continue on this kind of conception of almost OCW Live, that we're bringing to the world course content almost as it happens. There was a seminar this past fall about COVID run by the biology department, and we're going to be doing a bit more in that, we believe, in the coming year with a couple of other courses, so stay tuned. Third, last point about the future explorations, touching a little bit more on collaboration. We want to be building on these adaptations, for instance, migrating OCW into online textbooks, with communities who really understand the needs of their individual learners, to localize, to create on-ramps or scaffolds into that content, and to create learning sequences that work for their users. Again, opening up some really interesting conversations with partners about that. And moving on to, even more broadly, thinking about how can we build coalitions of organizations that they don't think of themselves perhaps as education first and foremost, but this open knowledge, would really further their agenda and be a fantastic contribution, again, to the commons of knowledge that we're building. There's some very interesting conversations beginning to open up there, all in the spirit of co-creating all of this incredible knowledge that we're sharing through OCW and across the OER ecosystem. So what's next? We invite you to sign up for the NextGen OCW preview site. That is the link, and I hope one of my colleagues is dropping that into the chat for you. Sign up through this page, and we'll send you the link and check in with you periodically as we do big new releases. Those releases will be coming out on that preview site through the summer and the fall as we continue work on the platform. Adding more tools for search and discovery and other ways to experience that next generation platform. Along the way, we're continuing on with these conversations about some really exciting collaborations with an eye towards a big grand official launch, by the end of 2021. That's not only the NextGen OCW platform launch, but also hopefully making some announcements about some of these other collaborations. So I want to thank you for coming today, for your interest and your support in MIT OCW and this amazing opportunity that we all have to continue to learn throughout our lives. I think President Reif, said it so well in his 20th anniversary message that he shared through OCW. He says, if you ask MIT people to name the moments when they felt most proud of the Institute, the birth of OCW is right at the top of the list. That is a wonderful legacy and an inspiring challenge for the next 20 years and beyond. I couldn't say it better. We're so grateful for the support of President Reif and the Institute and what we're doing, and for you and your support. All right, thank you. We have a moment now, I think, for some questions. I see here in the chat, a few have come in. There's a question about OCW and edX, talk about cataloging department seminars and OCW competitors. Those are three great questions. So let me start with that relationship between OCW and edX. This is a very natural question to think about. So edX, fundamentally is a separate nonprofit, almost like a consortium that multiple universities are sharing their materials through. OCW at MIT, connected specifically to MIT materials. The modes of use for OCW and edX we see as very, very complementary. OCW is sharing the materials with no registration required. It's there for you to use, anytime you want, completely self-paced, as little or as much as you need. edX is creating these course experiences that walk you through part by part by part by part from a beginning to an end. And so if you've got some number of weeks or months to really invest in something, the edX experience is fantastic. A lot of people don't necessarily have that experience, and so we see all the time people using OCW to, for instance, brush up on a particular topic, and they'll dive in deep and maybe do an edX or MITx course. Hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. That was a great presentation. I'm so excited to be here today as your moderator. I'm Kim Hunter, class of MIT 1986, and also the Director of Alumni Outreach at the Alumni Association. I hope our audience will continue to put their questions into the Q&A tab. And now let's get on with some more questions, if that's okay with you.
Great, thanks, Kim. Sorry.
Great. So could you talk a little bit about the relationship between OpenCourseware and edX today? I think there are some of us that may be confused about that relationship and would love to know a little bit more.
Yeah, sorry, that one I jumped the gun. I just jumped ahead and went through that one. I was so excited to see the question. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, and I was trying to get in there too. So we'll go from there. So Robert, PhD, class of 70, would like to know if there's talk of cataloging department seminars as well as those courses that are on OpenCourseware.
Yeah, when we think about the vibrant reflection of the teaching and learning, some of those seminars are definitely in our sites. We've dabbled in that a little bit and are taking, I think, a closer look at that because they're definitely an important part of the experience. Thanks. Yes.
Yeah. So the amount of material that's on OpenCourseware is overwhelming. It's exciting, but it's really almost overwhelming. As perhaps lamentably with a lot of commercial platforms, can OpenCourseware provide targeted suggestions to alumni so that their students, volunteers, and those with professional interests can get to things a little more easily, especially when they sign on to the Infinite Connection?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question and a great suggestion. One of the things that I didn't touch on specifically, our work on the platform includes moving in the direction of allowing people to kind of register on the site. Currently, there's no registration on OCW, but specifically to allow people to log, I'm interested in these set of topics. Please keep me posted and make recommendations more tuned for me. We look forward to launching some things in that direction. Yes.
Great. One of the things that I always found exciting when I was working in the admissions office was the number of our prospective students who were accessing MOOCs and OpenCourseware, and they were talking about in their applications. How effective has OpenCourseware been in spreading knowledge in your mind?
in terms of like, reaching, for instance, prospective students and
anyone, prospective students, those of us who are lifelong learners, just generally, we saw people from all over the world. How big do you think that reach really is?
Yeah. I think our reach is incredibly, extensive and thorough for a subset of the global population, right? Currently. And part of what we're thinking about, this future of NextGen and some of the collaborations is how to expand that reach. I think we do incredibly well for people who are inclined, to approach the world, in kind of an MIT way, right? So we are, one of the first stops for people who are learning about computer science and a number of STEM fields, and increasingly, some of the humanities and social sciences that MIT is known for. When we travel, for instance, education conferences, there's a perception that, say from community college, teachers or students, I'm not quite ready for that, right? You saw in the video, the student, Moussé Demise, talking about his experience at Bunker Hill Community College, and like his teacher was using OCW material, and he didn't, he started from a position of not thinking he could sort of engage with it. It turned out that he could. And we want to build that. We want to build people's comfort and ability to connect into it. We think that people are more capable and more ready than they might realize. And so building the community and building the culture, is a really important part of this collaboration work that we have before us.
It's amazing to me how much material and how diverse the material is that's there. I remember at one point a few years ago, accessing information about how to learn to sail on OpenCourseWare. Yeah. And that was like, it's really about everything that's happening at MIT. So there was a video in that, one of those earlier clips, it was a user from Myanmar. Have there been any restrictions on terms of people using OpenCourseWare in countries, any issues with other governments?
Well, one of the reasons why we do run that Mirror Drive program to ship OCW content on a hard drive is so that people have a sort of protected space, on their local network where they can use it. I'm not up to date on the latest happening, for instance, in Myanmar, but we talked about YouTube as a way to to extend our video reach. And even in the United States, there are a lot of institutions that block YouTube. There's a firewall, right? And so one of the other places that we share our videos is on the Internet Archive, where people can download it freely. And that seems to be able to be accessed by a broader global community than YouTube does, especially in certain countries that have sort of fights with YouTube.
Yeah. Firewalls. So could you share a little bit about the effectiveness measurement of OpenCourseWare moving forward, given that you're not logging in users or really asking them to identify themselves?
Yeah, well, we invest a lot of energy in asking our users, for anecdotal feedback, and we've got an incredibly rich, perspective on why and how people are coming to use it. Through that, we are also using, web analytics to the best that we possibly can. We have a pretty clear sense about the popularity of certain courses and certain topics, and geographically where some of those things are coming from. And we're sort of building on that. It allows us to know, for instance, that outside of North America, India is an incredibly rich and active pocket of OCW users. And we think that's in part because in India, the IITs, that network of universities, is similar in spirit in a lot of ways to what MIT is trying to do. And so it points people in that same direction.
Okay. Harvey, who's a member of the class of 58, says it sounds kind of like OpenCourseWare is becoming the Amazon of technical education. Do you see any danger with that?
Let's see. Amazon of technical education, like the sort of like first stop or the primary stop.
The first stop, suggesting what you should listen to first.
Yeah.
What you should listen to next.
Well, in the sense that the world's knowledge is much richer than what MIT puts across, absolutely. And this, this theme about equity through collaborations very much includes how important it is to bring other voices into the conversation. MIT has tremendous amount of things to offer in so many topics, but boy, we do not have all the answers. We shouldn't even try to be the one-stop shop. And so our ability to bring in and point people to, other voices and other perspectives on these issues, as much as it's happening within our curriculum, we also want to be lifting up, other providers of this information, and they are absolutely stepping up. And I'm really excited to be working with them over the years to come.
Great. So we probably have time for just another question or two. So here's one. Free access is a core concept of OpenCourseWare, yet creating a self-sustaining revenue stream is a core concept of many successful nonprofits, freeing them of the need for that continual fundraising. Any thoughts on how OpenCourseWare might be self-sustaining?
Yeah, our team at MIT has spent a lot of time, works very hard on this. There is a foundational commitment to keep OCW free. And, we get about half of our funding from the Institute, based on their recognition of how important this is to the mission of OCW at large. And the other half of it comes through, fundraising campaigns, of which, we're so grateful for the alumni contributions there and other gifts, large and small, that make up the other half of it. And I'll say, to reach the aspirations that we have for next generation is requiring a bit larger investment than what we've been running on for the past few years. And we're gratified to see at least some of the early signs that people are really resonating with these next generation messages and these aspirations. And that increased level of support is fundamental to us being able to hit the mark.
I understand. Yeah. So one last fast question. There isn't any registration at this point. People just access this. Why not register the learners and the courses that they're taking to actually be a part of that online education in a way that they can record that information?
Yeah, part of it is historical. Think back to 20 years ago. Sort of online practices and community norms weren't so nearly established. And one of the most fundamental things that we set up with OCW was we wanted it to be absolutely minimal friction, right? No barriers. And so there was no registration required. That was the spirit of it. I think, today, people are more comfortable recognizing that if I create an account, log in and tell you a little about myself, I can get some useful features from you. And we will only do so in a spirit that still keeps everything completely open for everyone. We're never going to put content behind a firewall, but there are some things, as we've acknowledged here, that really require knowing a little bit about you to be able to customize and reach out for that experience.
I understand. I remember a conversation I had now 20 years ago with someone who called me. He graduated from another venerable institution in Cambridge and said only MIT would have the courage to do what they did by launching OpenCourseWare. So it's really exciting to be a part of this and to see how it's grown in the last few years. I know we're approaching the end of our program, and I want to thank Kurt Newton and Krishna Rajagopal for joining us today and for sharing their work and their vision for the future of open learning. Please note that these talks will be made available on the MIT Alumni Association YouTube channel as soon as possible. For those attending today's reunion events, we encourage you to take a quick screen break. We'll be offering an opportunity to join other alumni for table chats immediately following this session. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks for joining us. And for more information on how to connect with the MIT Alumni Association, please visit our website.